Welcome, welcome, welcome to Google Docs. Thank you for joining us either live or on the recording. If you want a certificate, you do need to sign in, but that is only for people who are watching us live. So who am I, the voice from behind the black box screen? I'm Dr. Desiree Alexander. I am your host. I'm the creator and founder and CEO and leader and consultant and all the other good stuff for Educator Alexander Consulting. So these are all of the ways that you can find me and email me and all that good stuff. You will be getting emails from me after this for my people watching it live. So you will definitely have my email address. What are some things we have coming up? Well, next week we have Google Slides and Google Forms by Sarah. So definitely go sign up. I think we have around maybe 150 to 200 people already signed up for all of these. So definitely go and get your spot. Saturday, sign language. If you've ever been like, I really want to learn American Sign Language, this is your jumping off point. It will be very interactive. So definitely go sign up for Tawanga Duchemay's session. Remember, we do not need to be on camera, so let's stay off camera today. Then we have digital equity and inclusion in library communities in July. Classroom management has been updated. The date has changed. So if you signed up for that, it used to be in July. Now it's August 1st. So keep that in mind. You can go sign up for that. Make sure that we are staying off camera. No reason for us to be on camera. And we also have misinformation in the information age. So a really nice session about that. And then we have templates for Tisha. The lovely Sarah will be back with her friend Beth. So there you go. I have a summer camp on the website that is sponsored by Kids Academy. There is a $20 cost for parents, but for teachers, you can sign up for a 60-day free trial, and that includes the summer camp. This summer camp is for pre-K through third grade students. So definitely take a look at that. Then we have the Rethink Learning Summit, all about rethinking education, right? We really need to do that. So look into that. We also have sessions from BER about digital distance learning and distance learning for ELA specifically. So there's two separate sessions. Ed Change Global, the 24-hour conference. It's international, guys. So we have sessions throughout the night. We have door prizes. We have games. It is just a party for 24 hours, and it's completely free. Go sign up for that. Notice edalex.net/events is where you can sign up for all of this stuff. We also have the United Ed Tech Conference, all about elevating people of color's voices. So there you go. That's a nice conference. That's only $15, and all of the money will be donated. So how awesome is that to an educational company? And then I told you, Indiana, you were going to get a shout out. I'll be talking at the Indiana Connected Educators Conference. It's completely free. Again, if you want to know, like, what session are you doing? It's on the website, and you can sign up for it. At the end of this, we will have an evaluation. I will make sure that you get that information, but just in case you have to leave early, ask me for the evaluation link, and I will make sure that you get it. All right. So I am going to stop sharing my screen. I think we have some questions in the chat. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen so Sarah can start sharing hers. I will, let's see, what questions? What is the July 7th, 8th class? It went so fast. Well, Kim, is all on the website. That's why I go very quickly through that, because as long as you get that website, you can go and get all, you can just grab your cup of coffee and just sit there and stare at the screen for as long as you want to. Okay, so that's why I go quickly through it, because you have the link to get to everything is on one website. Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, that's why I go fast through it, y'all, because I don't want to take time from Sarah. I just want to kind of pique your interest, and then you can go find everything on the website. Okay, so I think that was all of the questions. If there's anything else, I'll just answer it in the chat, guys. All of your questions, throw in the chat, because you cannot unmute yourself. So all of your questions, throw in the chat. And if you're like, I asked a question and she didn't ask it yet, just give me a second. We're going to ask it. Don't worry. We're going to get to it. I promise. And I'm going to shut my face and give it away to Sarah.
All right, I'll take it over from here. Desiree, thank you. And like Desiree said, if you have questions or maybe I breezed through something a little too quickly, please do pop it in the chat, and then she'll help me and ask me to come back, and we'll get your questions answered. So let's start off a little bit with introductions. I'm Sarah Kiefer, and I am a technology integration specialist for the Ross Local Schools here in Cincinnati, Ohio. I'm just a little bit northwest of Cincinnati. And this is my 18th, 19th year of teaching. My first 14 years were spent as a classroom teacher. I taught both 5th grade and 7th and 8th grade. And each step was a part of my progress, part of my pathway to getting to where I am today. And our district went one-to-one with Chromebooks, and we are a Google school. I'm a big believer in Google, and you can see I've got the certifications, and that's actually how I connected with Desiree. I applied for and was honored to be accepted into the Google Innovator Academy in New York City last October. And Desiree was and still is my innovator coach. So she supports me through that process. And with all of this distance learning that we've all been enjoying, I'm sure everybody could say that, we've been enjoying this, but we got to talking about this and we thought, hey, let's do some intro classes, and did our first one on Tuesday for Sheets. Today you can tell I'm sporting blue because today we're going to do Google Docs. And we're going to go ahead and get started. All my information is right here. The shortened URL that Desiree posted in there, the tinyurl.com/docs YCD stands for You Can Do. I am a big believer, and that's why my website is called Tech You Can Do, that the stuff that I share out, the stuff that I push out, you might be intimidated. You might feel like this is over my head. But what I try to do is take whatever the topic is, whatever the tool is, whatever the idea is, and break it down and make sure that it's something that is attainable, not just for you, but for anyone. And I always do try to tuck in, because I know not everybody is starting out from scratch. So I always do tuck in extra. So if you were here with us for the Sheets class, we did not get through everything. So hopefully if you were here for the Sheets class or you rewatched the webinar on Desiree's YouTube channel, you'll be able to grab the URL for that, and then you'll be able to see all of the extra items that were posted that I shared in there, and go through and explore and try things out. And obviously, feel free to contact myself or even Desiree to check it out and see what you already know, and maybe the things that you didn't know, and test things out. Because that's honestly the best thing that I could say is, until you actually start playing around or doing it or having some sort of a purpose with the tool or the idea, you're probably not going to get anywhere with it. So what I'm trying to do with these webinars is trying to force your hand a little bit. So with Sheets, I created the presentation in a Google Sheet, which I know is probably the last thing that anyone would have thought of doing. But it forced everyone to be in a Google Sheet and to try things out in a Google Sheet and to see how things were laid out. Today, we're jumping into Google Docs. You can see I have a nice large image here, which the shortened URL would have taken you to a copy. So you are now the owner of that particular doc. And please know that that means that anything that you do does not get reflected anywhere else. The items that I do is not going to be reflected anywhere else either. So you can see that if I click on here, I could go ahead and delete that image. And if you have made your own copy, it's not going to have that same effect on yours. I'm going to bring that back just by doing probably what I always tell students my favorite shortcut, keyboard shortcut is Command Z, or if you're on a PC or a Chromebook, it's Control Z. There's also this cute little arrow up here. When you hover over it, it's the undo button. A lot of us are click happy, or our mouse or our trackpad isn't cooperating in the quickness that we would all like to have. So that undo button has been my lifesaver about 8,000 different times. I even had a Post-it note for a long time that I would write out some of these little keyboard shortcuts. Control Z, it's a lifesaver. So what I did here, and this is one of the things that we'll get to later, but I just want to highlight it while we're right here. This is actually a Google slide that I created. And you'll see through each of these webinars, they're all going to have the same theme. But what I did was I downloaded this as an image and I inserted that into a Google Doc. So at its very basic, a Google Doc, like it talks about here in our first big box, it's a word processor. And that's not intimidating to anybody. I mean, honestly, I can still remember 4th grade. I used a word processor at the time. It was called a typewriter. And I had to do a report on Chernobyl over in Russia. And I sat in my parents' bedroom where the typewriter was and I typed. That is very much at its bare bones, strip everything away. There you go. That's a Google Doc. It's a place that you could type up information. But don't let that fool you. Just like I say right here, don't let that fool you. A Google Doc is far more than just a word processor. So keep that in mind. And if you're noticing, I am a big hand talker, but you're probably only going to see the one hand. I had shoulder surgery last Wednesday, so I am in this lovely, you probably can't see it real well if I tilt down a little bit, got a lovely giant sling attached to me, and I will probably for the next month. So you're probably going to see a lot of my right hand. I do apologize. It does also make me slightly slower on the computer. But I think I did pretty good on Tuesday with sheets, and so just bear with me. So Google Docs, you can add in a whole lot of things. Like it shows here, links, images, which is what this is. These are all links. If you click on them, you'll notice that you're going to get this little drop-down menu is what I would probably call it. And you click on that, it links you right out. You can add in emails. So you can click on that, it would send an email to myself. Here's my website. You can click on that and it'll take you out to my website. You can add in drawings. You can add in fonts. You have plenty of templates. And that's probably maybe a little known secret that a lot of people, but it's not a secret. And we'll get to that very quickly here, that Google provides actually. Others also provide a lot of templates, but they do allow for some quick creation. Or if you're a person and you're not confident in your, not in your tech skills, but you're not confident in your creation skills yet, because you will the more that you actively participate and you actively use these items, you'll find that it'll come very easily and very quickly to you. But there are some great places to start. So Desiree, questions yet? We good?
We are good to go, ma'am.
Okay.
We had kind of an overall question about the difference between Docs and Word, but I said, they're going to see that as you go.
Right. And keep that in mind, because I did come from Office, right? Like I remember in college, they had those, Apple IIe computers and, all that. Like I really lived in the Office zone. And then I do remember very clearly when my district said, we are going Google. And I just remember almost like wrinkling my nose and going, why? And I can sit here now and I can tell you that. And I can tell you that because I kind of had that attitude, I can also tell you what an amazing tool that all of these tools that Google provides, hands down, the collaboration that's possible is phenomenal. And it's across the board in their tools. And I almost exclusively use Google. I only use non-Google products, like if it's a requirement of some nature. I totally do prefer any and all Google tools. So in your mind, be thinking, oh, I bet Google can't do that, but Word does. Well, I've found a lot of people that have said that to me, and guess what? We figure it out. We find a way. And actually, Google has come a tremendous way, even in like the last 5 years. So the first thing, probably where we should start, is how do we make a Google Doc? And if you joined us on Tuesday, this should probably sound a little bit familiar because it's basically the same thing. You could open up a new tab and you could type in doc.new, and boom, there you go. Brand new Google Doc. Now, I don't particularly care for that. That's not my preference. My preferred method is to go into your Google Drive, actually open up the exact folder or the exact location in your drive that you want your doc to, what I call, live, because then you always know where you can go back and find it. I'm not a big fan of all of these random documents and sheets and slides and all that just kind of like hanging out. To me, it becomes too cluttered. I like to put things right where they belong. So if you join us in a couple of weeks where we go through organizing your drive and all about Google Drive, you'll see I do try to keep my drive pretty neat and tidy. So there are two ways. Doc.new creates you a brand new Google Doc, or go into your Google Doc or into your Google Drive, sorry, and then click this new button that'll show in the top left corner. Docs is the top tool. You'll have the option above it for creating a folder, but click on Docs, and then that is also where you will find the template gallery. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to jump into my drive real quick, because this is a very little used, I would say. I think people know that it's there, but it's little used, and it's honestly, it's pretty phenomenal for most people, if nothing else, to get some ideas. So I clicked on that new button, and I'm coming down here to Docs, and most people would just go ahead and click on it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this little caret, and notice it gives me that little kind of side menu, and I want to pick the one that says From Template. Notice that these for Sheets has one, and little heads up there, when we talk about slides next week, they also have a template section. Click on that template section, and when you jump in here, and I would 100% share this with students, because I don't know about you, like when I taught 7th and 8th grade and I had like 150 students, like reading the exact same format of stuff sometimes after a while just kind of becomes bland and blah, and like I knew they could do better, but if nobody shows them better or different, they may not realize that it's there. So when you look at this templates gallery, see how like the top one that comes up, and this might be because I'm in my education account, but notice that it's got essays that are ready to go. It's got reports that are ready to go, class notes, book reports. Not saying that these are, the best or these are ideal templates, but they're templates. Anybody can pick one and start from there, and then it becomes a matter of like substituting. So if you're doing like this one, it shows 9th grade biology, some kind of class notes. Your students could have a head start. They could have a place to start instead of having to start with a blank Google Doc and go from there. And it's as simple, honestly, when you go through here. You've got business letters, English language arts teachers. You need to teach your students the difference in letters. A lot of times, like for me, it was like, well, I wanted to give them some examples. Well, here you go. Here's some informal letters. Here's a business letter. Here's a different business letter. Do a little bit of comparing and contrasting, but give your students a place to start. Resumes for anyone that's us professionally. You need to have like a template, or you're looking for a template. Maybe you want to jazz up your resume and you just are like at a loss. Here's some resumes. I always thought this was kind of cute. Here's a pet resume. Get down into here, into work. You've got meeting notes, newsletters, brochures. I mean, how many of us teachers spend so much time creating newsletters? Here's a couple of templates that are ready to go. And just keep scrolling. That is a lot packed into a place where very few people go. So keep that in mind. I do have that also linked down in the resources section as well. So templates are a phenomenal place. That template gallery, it's a great place to go. Try it out, check it out, see what's going on in there. We're going to continue. All right. Sorry, the scrolling is using my trackpad. All right, so fundamentally, a Google Doc is a word processor. To really be able to navigate around and feel comfortable, I do believe very firmly that you have to understand there are two different toolbars. And this probably sounds a lot like a repeat of what I talked about on Tuesday if you were here for Sheets, because it is repetitive. Google is very good about trying to keep things very consistent across their applications. And that honestly is a great teaching technique. So keep that in mind. Like if you're beginning to get more comfortable in one Google application and then you go, oh, well, today I need to use a different one, the toolbars will look very similar, not quite identical, but very similar. So keep that in mind when you come up here, if you remember from Tuesday, and you'll hear this again next week when we talk about slides and other Google tools. There's a toolbar up here that is very word heavy, and that's how I kind of separate the two toolbars out. This one has a lot of words. And then the second toolbar, which tends to be a little bit longer, is one that's a lot more image-based. It's a lot more, I would say it's a lot more visual. This is great. This is a great toolbar. I've noticed a lot of students, regardless of their age, are a lot more comfortable with the second toolbar. Teachers tend to kind of feel more comfortable up here in the words. The kids gravitate right to that second toolbar. And if you can use I like to use fun words to help the kids understand like what the different tools are. And you'll see as I go along. And here's where I want to point out, there is a fantastic built-in tool that can help you do pretty much whatever, or help you figure out how to do pretty much whatever it is that you are interested or wanting to do. And it's this little word right here that we all see and most of us ignore, or maybe you use it very heavily. I know that I use it often. And when you click on it, it does give you a short little menu. I love this one down here. You click on there, you can see all kinds of keyboard shortcuts. But what I like to do in here is I type. Like if I have a question and I'm not seeing, or I'm not sure, like how do I insert an image, maybe I type that in here, and then Google, so very kindly, gives me all of these different options. They're going to help me out, and it's a matter of just clicking on one of them, and they're going to help me figure out what I want to do in Google Docs. So I use it all the time. Probably my most favorite example of needing to use help is I love the document outline. And if you're not familiar with that, look over here to the left. I love this document outline. Kind of think about it in a way as like a table of contents. But this document outline over here, I've accidentally closed it out and then I regret it. And I'm like, oh man, I really want that to come back. So I never could remember or figure out like, where does that hide up here? And, and we're always very short on time. So I wanted it to be very speedy. So I would come up into help. Now let's talk about the document outline real quick. Over here, do you notice how when I hover over them, you can kind of tell that they get a little bit more bold? But you also notice that this is blue right here. Like let's keep scrolling. And let's get away from where we really are. But do you notice how it's kind of jumping down with us? What if I want to go back up to the website? There you go. Takes you right back up there. What if I want to go down and check out, well, what resources? Sarah's talking about stuff that I already know. So my mind's kind of wandering. I'm going to move on to resources. Come over here and click on the resources. It pops you right down to that part of the document. Incredible. And guess what? It pretty well much did it on its own. That's a feature that builds itself out for you if you know what you're doing. And since we're here and we're going to do that, I'm going to add a section right below just so you guys can see how this works. Let's put in my new section. Okay, so you say, well, Sarah, nothing happened. It didn't, but if I want to indicate that and I want to have it show up over here, I just have to tell, because again, it's a Google Doc, it's a computer-based program. It doesn't really know what's going on in my head. So I'm going to select those words and I'm going to say, hey, I want you to show up over there. And the way that you do that is highlight it, and then in your image heavy toolbar, do you see when I hover over where it says normal text and I hover over it, it says styles? I'm going to change the style of what that text looks like. Now, let me show you what I'm talking about. So up here where it says resources and more, when I click in here, do you notice how it actually says it's heading 2? So keep that in mind. I want this, my new section, to do the same thing as resources and more. I was getting ready to point at my screen. You guys can't see that. So I want my new section to show up over here just like resources and more. So I'm going to go up to where it says normal text, and I'm going to change it to find heading 2 because that text was white. If you remember, it was white with a blue background. So I'm going to change it to heading 2. And there it is. You see it over here on the left? Now, if I click off of it, and remember, I changed it to white text. So I'm going to have to highlight behind it so you guys will be able to see it. I'm just going to pick that same blue. And then I have added that onto my document outline. I love this feature. Imagine being in the classroom if you put in a lesson for your students all on a Google Doc, which a lot of us are pretty comfortable with, or this is the one that we're more comfortable with than other things. Having that as quick access right over here, you just click through, you tell the kids, you know, if you have a question, maybe you want to go back to vocabulary. All they have to do is click on it and it takes you right back up to that part of the document. And it was as simple as changing the heading, the style. And it's super easy once you know how to do it.
Sarah, can you show us if you get rid of the outline, how do you get it back again, please?
Oof. See, that's where I always get very nervous because I like to have those over there. But if you accidentally remove that, here's where if you accidentally do it, to bring it right back immediately, remember Control Z, Command Z if you're on a Mac. Use that undo or the keyboard shortcut. If you take it away like that though, okay. Desiree, you might need to help me out a little bit on that one because I just don't touch it because I like it there.
Oh, and I think they more meant like if you don't, like if you click on the little arrow and get the whole thing gone, how do you do that? I think that's what they meant more.
Okay. So that is, okay, great. Because I'm like, I just don't ever undo that. And then I redo it real quick. Okay, so if you get rid of the whole thing, that's what I would do a lot. And this is, it's not a new feature, but I believe if you just click on this little icon here, this has not always been there. So if you're a veteran Google user for a while, it would just go away and then I never knew how to get it back. That's why I would always come up here to help and I would type in outline. And then when I would click on this right here, it would bring it back.
You just turned it off.
Oh.
Because it was already checked.
Let me undo that. Let's go back to outline. Outline, sorry. This is the problem with one hand. That's right, it was checked. So I'm going to click on it and I bring it back. But even easier now, that icon was not always there. But now you can just click on that and you bring it back. Oops. My color went away. Hang on. All right. But I love this outline feature. We good?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the second toolbar is a lot of your icons, and very similarly to the Google Sheets session that we did on Tuesday, a lot of the same things. You got your font, your size, bolding, italicizing, and I would honestly say hover over these items to help you figure out what they are. Inserting links like we had talked about up there. This is big ones for your language arts teachers who probably use Google Docs a lot more than maybe some other content, but the alignment is in here. This is a great one too, is your spacing. I know that times are always evolving and changing, and you can see the defaults that are part of this, and then you can also get into some customizing, whatever you want required or is required for you or your students in a particular activity. If you need to do some numbering, notice here's one of my favorites, the little shark tooth. You see that little downward facing triangle? I call it a shark tooth. It doesn't just have to be a 1, 2, and 3. Notice that you do have some options in here. So anytime you see that little shark tooth, click on it because it's going to give you a lot more options. Here's your bulleted list, same thing. There's a little down triangle. You've got some options that you can choose from. Here is your indenting, increasing and decreasing it. The T with the slash through it, you might go, well, what the heck does that mean? Well, it clears all of your formatting. So anything that you've done to it, you can get rid of. The little paint bucket, if you remember from Sheets, it fills in that entire cell. Same thing how I have this document formatted with like a table. I've filled in that box with a particular color, and I've got a border around it. And honestly, hover over things, play around with them, check them out. I refer right here to a sleeping snowman. Let me see if I can get that with one hand. The sleeping snowman. You don't see it on my screen yet. So I'm going to shrink this down just a bit, see if he's going to pop in there. There he is. Do you see the sleeping snowman? See him right here? He's sleeping, he's tired. Now, as I explain it to students, you know, he's a lot of times he's standing up, but after a while he gets a little bit tired, so he lays down, he's taking a little nap. That little sleeping snowman, anytime you see it across any of the applications, it means that there's something more. It's kind of like the dot, 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 things are continuing out. So when you click on that, instead of it trying to fit it onto your screen and maybe making it kind of small, it kind of drops it down into like a third toolbar. So that little sleeping snowman is a pretty awesome little tool. You'll see him a lot of times based on your screen size, and if you want that little menu to go away, you just click on it again or maximize your screen. So that little sleeping snowman, he's a little tricky guy, but he provides a lot of additional help. And the reason, honestly, people always, they laugh when I talk about these shark tooths and the world's skinniest snowman and all that. But once you become a little bit familiar with those, especially when I work with elementary students, so we're talking pre-K to 4, grade 4. If you can kind of make it fun, it's not so like the 3 vertical dots, or, you know, like they respond a lot better to like the world's skinniest snowman. Find him. He's on your screen. You know, where is he? Do you see that shark tooth? Do you see the other shark tooth? You know, they'll kind of find a little bit of joy, a little bit of fun, and who doesn't want to have fun while we're learning? And then those are things that I've had teachers say to me quite often, like, oh yeah, I remember that you said that. So try to give these things a little bit of fun. Like there's the hamburger menus. We're all familiar with those kind of things. Continuing on, a few of the vocabulary that I'd like to highlight are the tools. And again, I highlight this because I do believe this Docs is a great place to start. And I think a lot of the times when we start using digital tools, it's in the manner of like typing up paragraphs or typing up a report or spelling sentences or spelling words, or it's just to give kids the ability to practice typing. So a lot of times I always think of like language arts class. So when you come and look at tools, here's a lot of great tools that you can utilize in many different grade levels. A lot of times, like if you're writing an application for something, or you have to keep in mind like space issues, you might have a word count. I was just doing this the other day. I was submitting for a presentation, and they said, in 200 words or less. Well, I'm not going to sit there and like count every word. Docs has that built in. You could just click on word count, and here you go. It's telling you far more than a word count, actually. 6 pages, there's 828 words, 4,689 characters, and then there's 3,921 characters excluding spaces. And you go, wow, that's a lot of data. That's a lot of good information. So especially like for your older students where you do have to sometimes limit them, here's an easy and very quick way. And the other really cool thing, this is fairly new, I'd say probably in the last 6 months or so, you can display the word count while you are typing. So instead of, always having to go back up and turn that back on, if you turn that little check mark on and say, okay, do you notice down here in the bottom left-hand corner? Again, I'm pointing. Down here in the bottom left-hand corner, it shows 828 words. Let's just add on, this is awesome. You notice how it's changing? That's pretty awesome. And then I believe if I just select just these 2 lines, because maybe I have like directions on my page too, or I've got other things, and I just like, this is the chunk that I'm writing that I need to be aware of, number of words. Just notice I've selected those 2 lines, and down here it tells me that it's just 24 words. That is pretty incredible to me because, like I said, first report that I ever typed up was on a typewriter. So I was literally like counting the words. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that just kind of shows you how far things have come. I don't like to consider myself old, but I know I'm getting older and more mature, I'm sure. So I'm just going to leave that down there in the bottom, just, so we can. And then add-ons. We did not talk about this too much on Tuesday. I do use a lot of great add-ons with Sheets. I don't use many add-ons with Google Docs. I've tried the Avery Labels add-on trying to make labels, but I do find it far more accurate to go to that website and use their template. But the add-ons menu are like these tiny little software packages almost that provide additional capabilities, additional features for you in any of the Google products. You can see that I don't even have any added on to my Google Docs account right now, but you can go to the add-on section and it will take you and will kind of describe all of the different things. So if you're interested in doing more, and since this is just an intro, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but just know that add-ons can give you additional features that can be provided in Google Docs. The one thing to be aware of right here, I'm going to highlight this. Not all domains allow for add-ons. So if you are using your school account, you may not be able to add on any of the add-ons. Try them out through maybe a personal account, see what you like about them, what you don't like about them. And that would go across the board. If you can't add add-ons in Google Docs, you won't be able to do it in any of the other ones. And then you'll have to talk to one of your tech people in order to help facilitate if you find one that's really good. And then we did talk a little bit about the help section. I never try to be what I would say too cocky in thinking that I know everything. I don't know everything. I'm constantly learning. Desiree and I were talking about this before everybody jumped on. There's new stuff that's happening all the time. There's things that, in talking with students, they might show me something. Another teacher shows me something. It's just, that's that process. Like I never think that I know everything. So I always know where to go find help, whether it's the help button or I call a friend, so keep that in mind too. All right, Desiree, any questions? While I take a real quick drink. I'm guessing not. So let's continue with formatting. So again, it's a word processor. Obviously, you can open up a Google Doc and you just type away, right? Well, I mean, if you notice through my doc, like it's not that simple. Like, well, it is that simple, but I have made
So
it.
sorry, Sarah. It was hitting. I've been trying to answer people's questions and I couldn't find my window. Okay, so we have had questions. I told them I'm figuring you're going to get to all this, but different questions about sharing, where can people do stuff with the document when you share, questions about commenting and grading students' papers, questions about voice typing, and about hyperlinking. So I figured all that was in your, but I just wanted to make sure that you knew that those are some of the things that people have been asking about.
Okay, so
and we also have, what is an example of an add-on?
So I'm going to save the add-on question for later. So Desiree, I don't know if you could jot that down. If we have time, we'll come back to that.
Will do.
But let's hit on some of the questions that have come up. So commenting is one of the sections. So I'm just going to click on there. How nicely it just takes me down there. It's a fantastic tool. So again, I know that a lot of people start with Google Docs. The commenting that I show you here in Google Docs is very similar, if not identical, in all of the Google applications. So right now, and you see I just have a bunch of text on my screen. Well, let's say this is what a student sent to me. And I want to comment on this particular phrase right here. Do you notice, like, I highlighted it because I'm kind of focusing in on this. And then did you see that this popped up over here, this little symbol? Google likes to give you more than one way, so it's also up here to add a comment. So let's say I want to comment on a student's, my student's work right here. Now, I do have editing, obviously, to this document. If a student just shares it with commenting ability, you'll have this as well. If they share it like view only and all that, like might have to have a conversation with students to make sure that you have the right abilities. If you do it all through Google Classroom, it works like a charm. So highly suggest that. But all you have to do is click on that little add a comment button. Since this is me, it's going to show up that I'm the one writing that comment, and I can say on there, great thought, can you blah, 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 right? And I can just add that comment. Now that's great. It does timestamp it. As the reader, then you could resolve it. You could also click on there and then reply to it, so you and your student could have that little conversation back and forth. Another thing that you could also keep in mind, like let's say this is a shared document between like a group of 5-6 teachers, and you need to maybe assign something or direct a comment directly to a particular person, or this is a group project for students. Select a word, a phrase, a sentence, a section, whatever it is that you're wanting to focus in on. Click add comment. And here's a really cool thing that you can do. If you put in a plus sign, notice just putting in a plus sign brings up a list of people. So I'm going to assign this to my school account. And I'm going to say, Sarah, I'm trying to do this one-handed, is your job. And then I'm going to say comment. And then what that does, notice it's got that email, my username account, my email account on there. It actually just sent an email to my school account. So now when I pull it up, I can just go into my email. I'll get a notification say that Sarah shared this with you, and I'll even probably, I believe I can read that comment right away, and then I'll be able to click on there, open up that document, and I can take care of whatever it is I need to take care of. Now, caution with this. I work with elementary students. They do not have email. They don't have access to email. Their email is turned off. So putting in their name in that manner to trigger the email means nothing. Okay? So I like to point that out. Not everyone has that ability, and it's not a bad thing. Okay? It does mean then that you need to take, like, if this was a student of mine, I couldn't rely on them opening an email to get this notification. I would have to be teaching and explicitly training my students that they have to come back into that document to look for this. Keep that in mind. Don't, just because these options are there doesn't mean that they're like foolproof, okay? There is still a lot around commenting and what you expect students to do. They might see this and they might just click resolve and then it goes away. And then you're like, well, but you didn't do anything with it. Well, but I read your comment. You got to remember, like, you have to teach them what your expectations are for this. You know, this could be resolved as well. And then you might say, well, but then they're gone, and then how do I know? Well, here's something to put in your little teacher bag of tricks. This little button up here, notice when I hover over, it gives me a little description, says open comment history. So when I click on that, even though these have been resolved, you can see who did, you can see the timestamp on them, you can reply to them, you can reopen them, and notice that there's like 2 different threads. So that little guy up here, this little open comment history, put that in your little teacher bag of tricks. Keep that there, because then you can always reopen this and, you know, close that up, and boom, there you go. And it timestamps, it date stamps everything for you. You've got that little history. Does that help with commenting? Any other questions or maybe something that came up with questions?
That's good for commenting.
Okay. The other, another one was
Voice typing.
Voice typing. Oh, can I say, and I can't believe I did not add this in on here. So actually, let me just do this. I'm just going to go all the way down to my new section, and I'm going to show you what I would do. So I totally forgot to put this in there. So I'm going to insert a table, and I'm going to do a 1x2 table. And then I am going to select that, copy and paste that in there. I'm going to fill that whole box with color, my new section, and then I am going to change that to, and watch my little document outline over here. I'm going to call this voice typing. Love voice typing, absolutely love it. It's fantastic, okay? And I show this specifically to a group of students with that have specific needs. However, I show this to anyone and everyone. And this is a win-win-win all around the board, and I'll show you why. So voice typing, it's a tool. It's built into Google Docs. So when you come up here to tools, notice that it says voice typing. Phenomenal tool, okay? Students of all ages. Kindergartners can use this, high schoolers can use this, I use this. It's probably a really great thing for me to use right now when I only have the one hand. So I'm going to click on voice typing. Notice I'm not enabling anything, I'm not adding on anything, I'm not going out and getting anything. It's built right into Google Docs. And then it's even prompting you, click to speak. And now it is in orange. And you can see that it's kind of capturing, you can tell that it's capturing my voice, and you can see on the screen that it is typing what I am saying. And to turn it off, all I have to do is click on the microphone again. Now, if that doesn't blow your mind, probably I'm not going to be able to blow your mind today, but check that out. And I know I've had teachers say to me, but that's cheating. It absolutely is not.
I'm not sure I understand.
Ooh. Sorry, that was my other listening device. This is not cheating. Let me explain to you why. This is a tool that allows for a time when you want students to get down some thoughts. You need to get down some thoughts. You have 25 other things that are going on and you just need to capture a quick note. and typing it is not possible, at that moment. Or it's just a lot more convenient for you to voice type it. I do that sometimes on my phone, like, voice type in a text or something. Okay, voice typing is a phenomenal tool. I highly recommend not only you, but I also recommend your students use this. Now, let's pick this apart a little bit. There is absolutely zero punctuation in here. And other than the capital I's, which Google is automatically doing for me, there is one capital letter. So whose responsibility is the proofreading? Whose responsibility is the grammar? Whose responsibility is the punctuation? It is still all on the student, whether they are typing it, whether they are voicing it in there. Now, I'm going to leave that paragraph. And notice there is some underlining, but if a student were to be typing this and they misspell a word, we all are aware of the red underlining. So it's underlining for some reason. So it's right there. Now, I'm going to do a new paragraph. You ready? And I'm going to show you a difference, and I'm going to see if you can pick up on this. All right, so I'm going to close that out. Again, I come to Tools, click on Voice Typing, and I'm going to click on here, and we're going to see the difference this time. Voice typing is awesome, exclamation point. I love that all I have to do is click on Tools, then click on Voice Typing, comma, and then click on the microphone, period. I highly recommend every student and every teacher understand how voice typing works, period. I love it. Exclamation point, new line. Now, check out the difference. And I'll leave this in here. If you've already made a copy of it, you won't see this part to it, but you can always retype in that URL and you'll be able to see this here too. Notice that I said the punctuation. I was still responsible for the punctuation. I don't have to physically type it in there. I do still need to proofread it, right? I mean, every student needs to proofread their work. Teachers need to proofread their work. But we're up here where I just talked and talked and talked and talked, and I got my thoughts down. Down here, I spoke, but I added in the punctuation. That to me is like a big game changer, because there are times where you do want to assess how well your students are typing or typing in a certain amount of time. And then there are times where we all have those students. I remember feeling so badly for these students that they'd come up and they would give me these wonderful explanations, and I would say, okay, now go sit down and write that out. And their faces would just drop. And then they'd come back up and they'd give me like a sentence. And it was just like, oh, you've got it in there. But it was that getting that out was so difficult for them. Voice typing can take that away. Voice typing can allow your students to be able to do this. And then because I have you right here, and I was totally not anticipating this because I really don't think this is a level 1, but this is something that is super powerful, and I always show it at the same time that I do voice typing. I have an extension that I absolutely love.
Sarah, I'm going to stop you before you go to that. I know everybody's like, shut up, Desiree. But before you go to that amazing extension, can you show them how to do the voice typing in a different language, how they can choose a language?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for keeping me.
Oh, no, they asked. It wasn't me. It was them.
Oh, okay. So now I don't speak any other languages. But I know that a lot of us do work with students that have other languages. We do often have students come in with limited English. So over here, notice, like, again, I have to trigger the voice typing, but you see where it says English, US, and then you see that little shark tooth guy? Remember that little shark tooth? Click on that little shark tooth, and you have this quite extensive, I would say, list of, and you even see various forms of English checked in here. Espanol, continue on. There are plenty of other options. Is there a particular language that somebody's looking for, Desiree?
No, I think this is good just to show them how to do it. And Sarah, I know that I'm trying to, okay, can you just click on like where you have voice typing and you've typed some stuff just click on it so they can see that this is not a picture, that all it did was typed on the doc for you, that you can edit any of this. Like, I just want them to see that so they can understand that this is nothing special. You can do the first paragraph. That's what they're really in. Like, you can,
let's see,
and then on the doc.
And now, so like if I were, remember how the first time I didn't say any punctuation and it just is like one ginormous big long run-on sentence. I can go back now as a student. There's nothing wrong. I'm still responsible. And when I mean that, I like, and now it is an orange, and I'd have to like, oh, it was like, it became an orange microphone. Students still have to be responsible with it making sense, period. And then maybe I take out that and, because that was too much. That was extra. You can see that it's, I don't need the kind of, I can delete that. It is capturing my voice. I need to clean that, you know, like, so the proofreading responsibility is still there. The punctuation, the grammar, all of that is still there, which is very powerful. So it's one thing to get the stuff down, and then it's another thing to clean it up, do all the grammar and all that. Desiree, may I now please show them my wonderful extension?
I guess.
Okay, so voice typing. I know like all of our students, and this is me being sarcastic here, I know all of our students, when they type, they get it down perfectly. I mean, I as a teacher, every time I type, it's all perfect, right? Always. Wrong. Like, I rarely ever, probably I'd say never, get it right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select this. Isn't it great, a great step in proofreading to be able to listen to what you wrote? You could pair up students and you could say, Sarah and Desiree, I want you guys to exchange papers and I want you to read it to each other. If you have time, if you have the ability, and if you're in person, right? Another option could be like, Sarah, you have to sit, you know, that's something you have to check off on your proofreading list. Like, you have to go back and reread it. Oh yeah, Miss Alexander, I did that. Check, check, done. Did I? Probably not. So I select that text, and then I use an extension. And again, I apologize. This is not truly level 1, but this is so incredibly powerful. There is an extension I like that I prefer. There are many of them out there. This is just the one that I like. Select and speak. So it's this little tiny play button up here. And if you have questions about this, maybe send me an email or tell Desiree, like, Sarah, I want more information about this, and I'll get that to you at a different time. I just want to show you how this works. So click on this little select and speak, and then this little menu pops up. And then down here, since I've selected all of this and it went away, I'm going to copy it. I'm going to come up to my select and speak. And then it says copy and paste text here to read aloud. So I'm going to paste it in here.
Voice typing is awesome. I love that all I have to do is click on tools, then click on voice typing, and then click on the microphone. Voice typing.
Now, it's reading to me what I spoke and it typed. I can hear what I typed. Pretty awesome. So for your students who everything that they do is perfect, we all have those students, have them use that extension. You know, let's select all of this, copy it, paste it into the extension.
And now, it is an orange microphone. You can see that it's capturing my voice. You can tell that it's capturing my voice, and you can see on the screen that it is typing what I am saying, and to turn it off, all I have to do is click on the microphone again.
Now, if you notice, it just read and read and read and read where I didn't have any punctuation. It's great when students listen to that because they go, like, that was weird. They may not know exactly what the problem was, but they understand that something was off. And that's when you can talk about those grammar rules and as a run-on sentence and all that kind of jazz. So voice typing, I love it. Now I'm going to add, and don't forget about the select and speak extension, exclamation point. Just adding that in for fun. And then when you want that to go away, close out that X and you're good. Okay. All right, voice typing, love it.
Oh, sorry,
Use it.
can you show that one more time? How to play the words?
Sure. So I'm going to select that sentence. It could be a word, it could be a phrase, it could be an entire paragraph if you wanted. Select it, and then you need the extension. The one that I prefer is Select and Speak. There are plenty of them out there. Open that up. Paste.
And now, it is in orange.
Hang on.
And
Copy.
And
Paste.
don't forget about the Select and Speak extension.
And it automatically plays for you. Like all I did was paste it in and then she gets to talking. Love it.
And it's called Select and Speech, correct?
Select and Speak. Yep, I'll clean this up right here. Select and Speak. And I believe it has parentheses after it called Speak It. And like I said, there are plenty of them out there. Don't ever get too tied to one. That's just the one that that I have been using for the last couple of years. It still works, so I'm sticking with it. But again, you'll have to talk with your maybe your tech department and make sure that that's accessible. And I always tell teachers, like, there's an appropriate time and place to use that. Not all students have that accommodation on any of the state tests that we have. But there's also a lot of times where that's not our focus. So like, let's help our students, all teachers. It's not just about who has a documentation. These are great for those students, but there are a lot of times that these tools are fantastic for all of us. So keep that in mind too. Okay. So I remember another item was hyperlinking, right? So let's go to hyperlinking. So what I had done here in this formatting, if you're the kind of person that likes to do things in a particular order, I wrote out some of these tasks that kind of go from a basic to maybe a couple of steps up. And notice that I have adding an image and a hyperlink as task number 7. So what I want to do is I'm going to come down to where our resources are, because I did this. These are all images, and then the blue words underneath are all hyperlinks. So you might say, well, Sarah, how do we do that? Well, let's do it together, shall we? So number 1, I've inserted a table up here. Notice the black lines. I inserted a table for me to be able to keep these fairly similar in size. And again, you would go to Insert, Table, and this is really just a 2x grid. And in order to add...
I'm not sure I understand.
Sorry, my watch keeps listening to me. So I'm in the last box. If I want to add in more rows below it, I'm just going to hit my Tab key, and it automatically adds in another 2. Notice there's 2 boxes here, so it's an entire row going across. Well, let's add in a picture of, actually, Desiree, are you okay if I pull up your website? Can I add in an image of that?
Of course.
Okay, so I'm going to pull up Educator Alexander. So I'm looking up Desiree's website. There she is. Beautiful website. And when I think of Desiree's website, I always think of this little apple over here with the E and the A. So what I like to do is take a little screenshot. So what I'm going to do is take a little screenshot. So Command-Shift-4. I'm going to take this little picture. You could hear my little camera click too there, couldn't you? So I'm coming back to my Google Docs. You could also use this Insert Image, and you could use these tools right here. I am now going to upload that picture from my computer, and it's a screenshot. I think that's it. There it is. Select that. I'm going to open it up. It's going to pop it right there into my box. Notice it kind of takes the full size of that particular box. As an alternative, like let's say I didn't go to her, Desiree, we'll have to fix that. Maybe I want to search the web. And I always like to search for it because it seems to be pretty safe. A puppy. Not that it would really be a resource that you would want to do. So here's a little puppy dog. I want to insert him. Oh, come on. Insert that cute little puppy dog. There he is. Right? He fits into that box very nicely. Desiree, I'm not sure what happened there. Let's try it again. Upload. A little screenshot. All right. Now, so that's how you insert an image. And now for these resources, like I gave it a name. So I'm going to put Educator Alexander. Oops. I could spell. Sorry, the one-handed thing. Oh, thank you, Google. Isn't that nice? Like it suggested it and it was exactly what I was looking for. I'm just going to click on that and it changes it for me. Website, get a space in there. And then what I'm going to do to add in the hyperlink, the URL, the redirector, if you will, is I'm going to select the whole text that I want to be the link. So I've selected it. And then what I do is I come back to her website that I happen to have open, select the URL up here in this Omnibox, copy that. And I use the keyboard shortcut Command-C, Control-C if you're on a PC or a Chromebook. Come back to Google Docs. It's highlighted right here. And then there is a keyboard shortcut, Command-K or Control-K, or there's a little image up here. I want to insert a link. I can click on that. It opens up this nice little text box, menu box down here, and then I am going to click Control-V to paste. But notice before I do, because it recognizes this, Desiree's is a well-established website out there, I haven't even pasted in the URL, but you notice right here, that's her website. So it's that artificial intelligence. It's out there. Like Google is trying to help us. They're trying to make things a little bit easier. I don't even have to paste in her link. How awesome is that? It actually even gives you see that little arrow? You can open that up in a new tab to see if that's actually the one that you want. I'm just going to go ahead and say thank you, Google, for putting that in there. I'm going to click on it. And then I click apply. And then notice it changes to your traditional. It's blue with an underline. And you can see up here in your formatting, it went ahead and it changed it for us. Now, that is incredibly helpful. I'm not the hugest fan of seeing all of the HTTPSs, the www dots. It's possible. Here's the other option, right? That's not bad. It doesn't look horrible. But if you were to be copying and pasting, the URLs of documents and all that kind of stuff, those tend to be pretty long. I kind of think of them as pretty ugly. People recognize them, but I do like to try to keep my documents a little bit cleaner, if you will. Now, this cute little puppy dog, I'm sorry, I don't have a specific website I was thinking of for him, but maybe you could put in the SPCA. Maybe you want to go there. Again, you highlight that text that you want. You can come up here and you could click on the insert link option, or you can use your keyboard shortcut. Now notice I haven't gone out anywhere. I haven't grabbed a URL. It's going ahead and it's thinking for me. So if I knew what that was, I'm guessing maybe the British Columbia Society of some kind. I don't know. Or I could find more. I could just go ahead and click on that and make that a link. Click apply, and there you go. You've just inserted a hyperlink, which is pretty nice. Now, I'm not going to leave this cute little puppy dog and that SPCA in there, so I'm just going to select over that and then delete. Now notice it leaves that box there. I'm going to go ahead and leave Desiree's website in there because I think it is a helpful one too. So we've inserted images, we've inserted hyperlinks, we've inserted a table. You can format these, you can fill in the colors. Let's say I wanted to change the background color. I just click in that box, come up and click on my little paint bucket. Maybe I want to make it an aggravatingly bright neon green. And I go, oh, no, no, no. Bad idea, Sarah. I like to use the undo feature. There you go. Now, before I jump into sharing, Desiree, any questions that you think?
Yes, ma'am. So can you show us the keyboard shortcuts that you just used for hyperlinks?
For hyperlinks, sure. It is Control or Command, depending. Control, I'll spell it out. Control plus K for link. I always have to try to think of, like, how do I remember that? Control K is a hyperlink. I might as well just go ahead, Control V, and I always say to the kids, it's Control V for victory, is pasting. Control C is to copy. And then one of my other favorites is Control D. Anyone guesses? Control D. Duplicate. Oh, and then obviously, here's probably my bestie friend, Control Z. Everybody remember Control Z? Undo. Those are probably my 5 most top used keyboard shortcuts. But remember where we found in the help section? If you come down here and you click on keyboard shortcuts, here you go. You got an unlimited number of keyboard shortcuts. Now, please notice, like, I know, like, you see these little funky, these 4-leaf clovers of some nature. It's because I'm on a Mac. If you're on a different, like if you're on a PC or a Chromebook, it will give you what the proper keyboard shortcuts are for your particular device. Keyboard shortcuts, it's where it's at, people. Love them. Time saver, fantastic. Okay, are we ready to share?
Yes, please.
Okay, so sharing, again, fairly consistent across the board, across all of these Google applications. The share button in Google Docs is a bright blue up in the top right. I'm a big visual person. I remember pictures. I remember what things look like. So you can see up here, you see, like, it looks like a person. Maybe if I zoom in, let's zoom in a bit, get that share button a little bit bigger. You see that share button up here? You see how it looks like a person literally sitting on top of a link? Which means that it has been shared with someone else. If it wasn't shared with someone else, it would have a lock on it, which means it's just me and it's only me and no one else has access. Okay, so this person is sitting on top of a link. And when I hover over that button, again, I can't emphasize enough, hover over items in Google and it tells you 9 times out of 10 in an easy to understand manner what these are. So it tells you on here that anyone with the link can access this. No sign-in is required. So that means that you don't have to be logged into your Google account. And it means that literally anyone that has this link can open this document up, they can see what it is, and they can see it live. It's fantastic, right? As long as you're okay with that. If I want to change it, all I have to do is click on that beautiful blue button. And right here, it's going to, it's giving me these little blue commenting things because Google has, if you haven't seen this yet, they've recently switched it over. They've redesigned their sharing box right here. I'm still getting comfortable with it. It's the new thing that I'm learning right now. I'm not going to say I have a problem with it. It's just, it's a little bit different right now. So I say, got it. And right here, it's showing you that these are all of my other accounts. And when based on where I have it housed, I am an editor on all of these, which is nice. If I want to add in specific people, notice it's going to give me a recent list, I guess, if you will. So I could start typing, and if I have somebody in my contacts, it will pop up there for me. If I don't, I could easily just type in, and notice it's like thinking for me. You can see how it's changing the different accounts. I can add these people on. And notice it gives you that little profile picture. Over here, this little shark tooth. Remember what I said about the shark tooth? If you click on it, it gives you more options. I can give the specific permissions. And again, Google makes these, I think, very intuitive. An editor obviously means somebody that can go in and change things. A viewer, I can only see it. I can only look at it. And then a commenter goes back to what we had talked about before, where you can actually add in comments to where you're not editing the document, you're like editing on top of the document, but you can't actually change the body of the document. So that would be the difference. And then here is probably the the best and the worst part for teachers. So I highly suggest anytime you're sharing things with students, do this through your LMS. Google Classroom. In my district, for the older students, we do use a different LMS. So there's things like Canvas or Schoology or Blackboard or whatever your school uses. You won't need to do this particular step if you share it through your LMS. But let's say I am just wanting to share this with another person or a group of people. I can actually notify them. And this will automatically send them an email. So again, you have to keep that in mind too. Like, does that person have access to an email? Most of the time as an adult, yes, of course they do. And you can just say, hi, here is, the doc that I'm working on, blah, 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 blah. And then you can click send. And then guess what? It's going to give you that notification. I'm working inside of a G Suite account. And it's prompting you like, are you sure you want to do this? I do. Share this anyway. Fantastic. I just now sent this document and given permission to my personal account to edit because I made them an editor. Awesome. Now the other thing, notice mine says that anyone with the link can view. That's down here. And if you remember previously, it was at the top before, and the specific people were showing up at the bottom. So down here, I'm going to change the ability. And again, since this is a newer thing, it's giving me kind of like these little help guides. Make this link searchable within your organization. Change the link by clicking on the gear wheel, and I'm going to say got it. So right now, it's telling me that anyone in my school district with this link can view, which is good. But even on top of that, it's telling me that anyone on the internet with this link can view. So that's why you guys were able to make your own copy of it, because I had given permission for that. I can copy the link here. If I want to make changes, see the little shark teeth? I can make changes right there on any of these. I can give different permissions to these particular groups. And then remember it said to click on the gear wheel, and notice what it shows you here, that it can appear in public searches. Right now, because of the way my domain is set up, that is not an option. I can't force it to appear in public searches, but I can allow people within my school district to search for that particular file. So I know that's a lot, and depending on if, and I think at this point, everyone's sharing settings has changed over, but I'm not going to say 100% that that's true. So if your share settings don't look like this, they will soon. And it all kind of, it works the same, it just kind of looks different visually. And then when I'm done making those changes, I just click done. And voila. Now, the other thing that I think people sometimes forget is when you make changes to your document or your sheets or your slides, you don't have to reshare out the link, even if you're changing permissions. So back in the day when I was still in the classroom and I would share out a document before they had some of the newer abilities, my students always had to make copies of stuff. So like how you were forced to make a copy of this when you went to that URL, I would do the same thing for my students. Except the problem is I hadn't changed my share settings. So then I would get very flustered and I would get worried. All you have to do is change your share settings and then tell them to probably refresh their page is always a very good tip anyway. But refresh your page and then try the exact same share settings. You don't have to resend out a link. And it works that way if you've posted a link in Google Classroom. It works that way if you've posted that link in an email. It works that way if you've posted that link on a website. They don't have to get a new link from you. Once you change that share setting, it pushes it through for you. It's wonderful. Now, like my little shortened URL, be careful with those. Number one, some domains don't allow for those, but you do have to just be conscious of when you use those and who you use those with. If you're dealing with students or other teachers, changing those share settings, just tell them, okay, re-click on the link, and then they're good to go. Questions?
We are like, people are loving all of this information. Okay, so we have some questions, then we have some kind of upper level. So I've been putting those, I'm gonna ask you those at the very end. But just a kind of yes or no, do you have a list of favorite extensions?
Oh, well, I don't technically have a list of them, but you can see up here on my, to the right of my URL, my Omnibox up here. These are the extensions that I use most frequently. I do play favorites with extensions. That's Select and Speak, hands down phenomenal. This next one over is Screencastify, and that's the ability for me to either capture my screen, to capture myself on video or myself and my screen on video. Wonderful. It's free. They've recently kind of changed their freemium settings. Hands down, Screencastify, it's fantastic. This next one, I tried Loom. Not the biggest fan, but I haven't played with it a whole lot. And then Desiree, I don't know if you heard recently, have you ever used Share to Classroom, which is one of my top classroom extensions? I heard that Google is going to do away with this.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. It is on my extensions list. I did share my extensions list with them, and it is one of mine on there. So yeah, and I do want to say, guys, with the extension that Sarah showed you earlier, and with any of these extensions, Google tells like the people that create the extensions to update it every now and then. And if they don't update it by a certain time, it disappears from the Google Chrome Web Store. Most of the time it comes back, like they do the updating or they solve the whatever was wrong with it and then they bring it back. So if you don't, like Sarah, yours unfortunately is not in the Google Chrome Web Store right now. And yeah, I know I do that every time I teach extensions. I'm like, oh no, it's gone. So it happens, guys. You just have to, I would say like just put it on your schedule to check it every week and just see, hopefully it comes back. But there's like a million that does the same thing. But you know, we all have our favorites. So if it ever disappears from the Google Chrome Web Store, just check every week. It usually comes on back. Yeah.
And then while we're up here talking about it, there's the Bitmoji extension. If you're a Bitmoji kind of person, this one, I love this crafty text. I don't have to use it quite so much anymore. Like when I was in the classroom, it's pretty handy. It does an overlay. So when you click on it, you could say, hello, thank you for joining. And then you just click enter and then it overlays on the screen. You can still see everything behind it, but it makes those words real big. Like morning messages. Before Google Classroom had that ability with the code to automatically like go large on your screen, I would use Crafty Text, copy and paste that and make it real big. Or if you're playing a Kahoot game or a Quizlet live game and you need to share out that the codes, this is real quick. You don't have to open up and make a new document or a slide or whatever. That Crafty Text extension is pretty cool. And then to get it to go away, you just click on it again and it's gone. Language arts teachers out there, I'm going to either A, make all of your dreams come true, or totally ruin a month of your lesson plans. I never understood the whole MLA, ALA, APA citation stuff. And then I happened upon this Cite This For Me extension. Love it. It's probably not going to do a whole lot because I'm on a Google Doc and it's going to tell me that there really isn't anything there for it to cite. But let's say you're on a website like history.com or something and your students are needing to cite This For Me is phenomenal. It'll actually give you the citation right here. You can copy and paste it over. Oh, I love it. Okay, you can go away now. Bitly is a URL shortener. Toby is a like a bookmarking collector type tab. And then this is probably my other nerdy, dorky favorite extension. It's called Color Pick Eyedropper, I think. I never say it right. So if you're a person like me that likes to have all of your colors accurate, let's say I wanted to change Desiree's text to match, or maybe I want to fill in her box, this whole square. I want to fill it in with this beautiful teal color. I could sit here and I could guess all day. I really could. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my technology wisely, and I'm going to come to her website, and then I'm going to click on my Color Pick Eyedropper, and it's going to show me that little bit, and then I get these, call it a crosshair. I don't know what else to call it, this large plus sign, and then I'm going to hover over, and notice the numbers and everything are changing, and I'm going to pick like what I feel is a good representation of that teal. I'm literally just going to click, and it's showing me the hex code. It's even highlighted that 4A8AAC. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to come back to my document. I want to fill in her whole box with that color. Click on my little shark tooth. I'm going to add a custom color because that's what it is. I mean, some of these up here might be kind of close, but I'm going to add in a custom color, paste in that code from her website and say, okay. And then it matches. I love this Color Pick Eyedropper. I could spend hours playing around with it and getting it just right. But it does save a lot of time when you're interested in making colors look good.
I completely agree. I live on Color Pick Eyedropper. Can you show us the shortcut that you use for doing a screenshot?
Okay. Actually, I'll type that in here. So it is Control. It's a 3. It's a 3 key here, people. Control, Shift, 4. Now, it is different if you are on a Chromebook. It's called the window switcher key, I believe. Screenshot. And when you press those 3 buttons together, it changes your cursor into that plus sign with a little circle. And then you have to, I don't know what it is for me. I always start like on the left side. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just, I get right up to where I like want to start. And then as click, hold, and now I'm dragging, and notice it's kind of becoming like a gray over top of, and it even gives you like your pixel sizes if you want to try to make it a certain size. And then when I let go, because I'm currently holding down on my trackpad, it works nicely with a mouse as well. So when I let go, you'll hear a click just like a camera. And down in my bottom right-hand corner, it's going to go away in a second. It shows you like a little preview. And then on my computer, I have it set just to save to my desktop, because then I can go and I can grab it. Love that little screenshot. And you can make the screenshots as big or as large or as small as you need to.
Can you show us version history to see yes.
Yeah, here's another one for the teacher tool bag, okay? Your teacher tool, your teacher bag of tricks, okay? And I loved this. I loved using this with students because if any of you teach 7th and 8th grade, you know that some of them are little tricksters. Like they like to, they like to like test you. They're keeping me on my toes is really how I saw it. Sure. So this is one that teachers of any grade, of any content, you're going to want to know this. And when you know it in Google Docs, again, carry this through into sheets, carry it through into slides, drawings, all of that kind of stuff. It's wonderful. So you go to File, and then you go to Version History, and you're going to see that you have two. Naming current version, we'll get to that in a second. Right now, all we want to do is we want to see version history. So big time scenario where this happens is kids get very click happy. They are deleting something, or they select something and they delete it, or they're working collaboratively. It happens. And things get deleted. And everybody freaks out like, oh, I just worked so hard on that. It's gone. Pull this out of your bag of tricks. File, version history, see version history. Click on version history, and it's going to change your window. Okay? So first of all, in the top left corner, notice it says today at 2:36. I'm Eastern Standard, so it's 2:30 right now. You can also see that little printer button. You can just go ahead and print from here. And here's my document in the center portion of my screen. Over here to the right, see these timestamps? This is your teacher bag of tricks. If they say, I know this is what it was on Friday when I was here, or on Tuesday when I was here, I know that I had a paragraph. You could just follow the timestamp trail and go back to it. Okay? Now, do you see what I have been referring to as a shark tooth, except where it's sticking out to the side and it's not sticking down? You see these little right-facing triangles? I hover over it, and what does it tell me? To expand detailed versions. So it's not just June 24th at 5:20, but it's June 24th at 5:20, at 5:19, at 5:18, 8:17, 17, 16. It's not quite perfect every second, every minute that I've been working on this document, but it's pretty decent. So if a student can say, today's Thursday, Mrs. Kiefer, I know that I had my third paragraph fully written on June 24th, and it was right before dinner time. I'm thinking like 5 o'clock. I could pull up the version history. She could pull up, or he could pull up the version history, and you go back to June 24th at 4:57, and then guess what this does? It literally like takes you back in time. What did this document look like June 24th at 4:57? And you come through here, and I'm the only one that's been in this document, but you notice the little teal circle next to me? This works wonderfully if you have a collaborative document. Other people that make changes, they're going to color code for you. So let's say Desiree was in here on June 24th. She would show up right there with my name, but she would be a different color. So now all I have to do is scroll through here, and I've got to find where my little teal color cursor is. I'm not seeing it in here. I must not have maybe made any changes, or what I did was so small. I'm not sure. So let me pick a different one, see if I notice anything. And maybe I'm just not seeing it. It should be like highlighted in this teal. No, maybe I was deleting spaces. There we go. See how even I hover over it, it's showing me it like it's highlighted in teal. It's showing me that that's what Sarah Kiefer did on June 24th at 5:07 p.m. Is I did something with this link. It does strike through if you've deleted things or, you know, all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm going to venture a guess that if you've made a copy of my document, you will see none of this. You won't be going back in time, because think about when you made your copy today at 1 o'clock Eastern, 12 o'clock Central. That's going to be where your timestamp starts. And your initial document, way back, if I come back here to June 19th at 6:28 p.m., this is what my document looked like. It was blank. I had just started it. So that's where version history comes into play. And this is where I say it's a teacher bag of tricks, because I would have 7th and 8th graders say, but Mrs. Kiefer, I had all 3 paragraphs. And they would be looking at me and like, what option do I have but to believe them, except for version history? I'd be like, oh, that's funny. You just opened this up 2 minutes ago. And then they would get all kind of like sheepish, like, oh, I'm like, that's right. That's right. Technology is awesome. Now go do your work. And, you know, then they'd be like, oh, okay, whatever. But it is also very helpful. And I know I like to pick on the kids when they're trying to be sneaky or whatever. But I've also had this where I was in a classroom when I was doing an activity. It was a 4th grader, and she was literally panicking. She was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what happened. It was just here. We went into version history. We found what it was that she wanted. We restored that version. It all came back. And it was... So it can work in a lot of different ways, and it's wonderful. Now, language arts teachers, I'm going to throw this out to you, and this works for every content. It's just language arts. I know this is a very real need. You know, when you do your sloppy copies, your rough drafts, your second drafts, your peer edits, all of that jazz, this version history can work really nicely. And if you instruct your students correctly, if you train them and you teach them, they can actually rename, like, so let's say on June 21st at 9:59, I want to call this my, my sloppy copy. If I just simply click on that timestamp, I can type in there and I can call it my sloppy copy. So then when I turn this into my teacher, and my teacher comes in and looks at my version history, notice this little only show named versions. I can turn that little toggle switch on. And now I'm only going to see the versions of this document that have been given a name. And I went ahead and I named a couple of chunks of my document. So here is your version history for your students. So here's what I had deemed my first draft. Boom, there you go. You can see all of the teal stuff on there. Here is my sloppy copy, and I know that those should be switched. And then here's what I considered my second draft. And you can see the changes, the differences. You can do some comparisons. And this is not to be confused with any of you that have seen some of these there are other tools that can help give you a side-by-side comparison. This is strictly version history that comes along with Google Docs and Sheets and Slides and so on. But language arts teachers, this is a fantastic way. Then they're not making a copy and calling that, so then they have 3 separate documents. Keeps everything all together, and it's fantastic. I love it. So version history can work for multiple different needs in your classroom. And then, go ahead.
Can you show us, I guess, just how to get an add-on, I'm guessing? We had a question just about add-ons. So I guess maybe just how to get one.
Okay. Let's get out of version history, because I know that sometimes is like the panic moment too, if you're not comfortable with this. If I wanted to go back in time and I wanted to restore this second draft right here, I could click this blue button and it literally takes me back in time to this particular version of my document. If I came here, I found what I needed, and now I'm just ready to go back. I just click this back arrow, and then I am back to, today at 2:47. And we're back to right where I need to be. And then let's add an add-on. As funny as that sounds. So all you have to do, and again, keep in mind if you're in an education domain, some do restrict this. So click on add-ons, and then you're going to say get add-ons. And it's honestly, like, that's the first step. And then you go through here, you look for whatever it is that you're looking for. Here's one for music teachers. Here's a word cloud generator. That's kind of cool. Let's see. Actually, I'm going to check that one out. But then if you notice, and this is very new, I know that Google is working to push this through to where add-ons are going to kind of be like across the board. You notice these little icons down here? It's showing, and I'm assuming that that is available for a Google Doc, but it's also available for Google Slides. And just like I thought, when I hovered over it, it does give me that confirmation. Whatever this one is up here, this DocuSign, it works with Google Docs, and it also works with Google Drive. So use those icons to help you out. So let's say I wanted this word cloud generator. I'm going to click on it. And then notice here I am in an education domain. And this might be where you get stopped. I'm not sure. So I'm going to just do an individual install. It's going to ask for my permission. And then it's going to tell you that this is the account that I want to install it on. And then these are all of the permissions that I have to grant in order to be able to use this add-on. So read through these, make sure that you trust them. And if you're good with that, go ahead and click allow. Let it do its thing. And I'm guessing it's done. But while I'm waiting, like, what you can also do too is you can see what it actually does. Like, it gives you a little preview down here, and then it gives you some reviews. Those are kind of nice to read as well. I'm going to close that out, and then let's see if it's there in my add-ons. Not yet, but I might need to refresh. Is always a good thing to try. So it's thinking, it's thinking, it's thinking. Go to add-ons. And it's not showing up, but like I said, I am in an education domain. It didn't tell me that it wouldn't add it on, but it's not showing. It would show up right in through here if you did.
So Sarah, can you show us two things that I get a lot of questions about?
Sure.
One is how to add more fonts than you have, and the other is how to change like the size of your paper.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so fonts. Number one, there's a website that you can go to if you're really interested in what these fonts all actually look like. But within Google Docs, within Google Slides, Sheets, and all that, here is your font, and this is the current font that I've got. Got my little shark tooth here. I'm going to click on that little shark tooth, and the very top option, which most people do kind of just blow by because they just look down, is you go to More Fonts. And then here is your little candy store. I just love fonts. Over here to the right, you're going to see these are all the fonts that I already have added to my account, or I already have included in on my account, as well as them showing up in blue over here. So let's say I want to add Poppins. I'm just going to click on it. Maybe I want to add Anton, sure. And you could scroll. You really honestly could be here for a very long time. I like lobster. Up here you can sort in different ways. If you know of a particular font, you could type it in here and it would narrow down your search for you. The other thing, and then when all you have to do is say okay, like Let's add that. And I say okay. And then those fonts that I've selected have already been added into my Google Docs on here. So they're there. Where did that lobster? There's lobster. I added lobster on. It shows up there. The other thing that you might want to do before you go adding 8,000 different fonts, which there's no harm in that, there is a great website called fonts.google.com. And I like this website for this particular reason. You can type in something, like maybe you're interested in seeing what your name looks like and you want to find a really nice font. You type in some sort of text and then look, you can look through here and you can see what it generates in all of the different texts. And then let's say you really like railway, go back to Google Docs, add that in on your font list. But I like that little, I like that website, fonts.google.com. And then changing your page size. That was one of our formatting adventures that we didn't exactly get to. But what you do is you come up here to File, and then you go all the way down to Page Setup. And then it brings you to this, this menu, and you can do a lot of things in this menu. Number one, and a lot of people aren't aware of this, but your docs traditionally is in the portrait style, but you can change the document to be a landscape. I know a lot of times manuals and things maybe come and they're in a more horizontal fashion. You could go ahead and you could change to landscape, and it would go ahead and it would retro my document to that. You can, here's where you change your margins. And then if you have a special size of paper that you need to be printing on, you can change it to match those particular dimensions. And here's a little known and probably should be very, very sparingly used. Kids go crazy when I show this to them, is you can change the page color. So I'm thinking sometimes for some of our visually impaired students, this might be a very helpful tool for the high contrast instead of it all being on a white background, or maybe for aesthetics, you want to change it. You can change the page color, but the caution with this is it changes the whole page, all of the page, and you can't customize. It's the entire thing. It's like a one fell swoop deal. So I always just like to do this very obnoxiously so you get the idea. So let's change this page color all to that bright neon yellow. And there you go. I'm not going to say that it was the right move. And I pick these obnoxious colors because kids tend to pick those obnoxious colors. They want to do that right away. And I say to them, that's great and that's fun, but please don't turn that in, because that's awful looking. That's very difficult on my eyes. And I always say, it's fun for you to look at, but I've got a grade 30 of them. And if every kid changes that color, it becomes a little bit of a headache, you know. So have these conversations with kids, because I don't think that they're ever too young to understand that there are options, but just because it's an option doesn't mean that you have to do it, right? And then my favorite, undo. I just undid it. I use my little handy Command Z, undo. All right, Desiree, got 4 minutes left. Do you mind if I go down to some of these additional ways? We're not going to get into details, but I did do some hyperlinking. We talk about version history on here, the document outline we've already talked about. There is the ability to include bookmarks within your Google Doc, which acts a little bit like the outline over here to the left. It acts a little bit like a table of contents over here. There is a resource called HyperDocs, and I have linked them down below in the resources. You could make choice boards or learning menus with Google Docs, and I've got a Wakelet that shares several examples and ideas that you could use with those. There's even the ability to insert charts from sheets, a table, which we've done in here, You can even insert a slide, and it links. So then if you make changes to the slide, it would make changes inside your Google Doc. Again, those are just some ways that I wanted to push you a little bit further. I've added in some links right here. If you're interested in those, be sure to click on those links and continue on and check those things out. I did tuck in a couple of blogs that I wrote about share settings if you're interested in learning a little bit more about those. And then as with any of these webinars that I'm doing, I'm tucking in a lot of resources down at the bottom. The Google Docs Help Center is great. They also have a website that is truly devoted to teachers using Google Docs. It's called First Day of Docs. Lots of training and help there. Any of the blogs that I've written that I use Google Docs with. HyperDocs is a fantastic tool for teachers. Please do check them out. It's several women that have shared these templates and things out for teachers to use and freely copy and do all of that kind of stuff. As well as I put tips and tricks right here in my Google Docs Wakelet. Choice boards are awesome. And then remember, I've tucked in Desiree's website down here. And the final thing I'm going to do right before we hit the 2-hour mark is I also have co-created templates for teachers, which is what Desiree had gave us a shout out for in September. My colleague Beth Kingsley and I are going to come on and we're going to talk about our website where we share out templates that you can just literally make copies of, give them to your students, modify them, use them at your will. And then I just want to say a big thank you for joining in today, sticking with us. I know this is a lot of information, and I apologize if I didn't get to answer any of these questions. And hopefully you will join us on future webinars. So Desiree,
Thank you so much, Sarah. I appreciate it. I want to make sure that everyone knows the evaluation is in the chat. I've been posting it constantly, so the evaluation is in the chat. Also, guys, if you made a copy of this at the beginning, if you want the stuff that she added, go back to the link, which is on the numbered list that I just posted in the chat, and just make a copy again. So make sure that you do that. I know we had a couple of questions about like making a forced copy and publishing a doc, which they are not really level 1. That's not really level 1 stuff. But if Sarah wants to stay on for a couple of minutes and show that, she can. But you know, we have stolen 2 hours of her time, so I'm not going to ask her to stay on to do that. And I know we had a question about tables, and Sarah did show us how to create a table earlier. So you are going to get a copy of this video so you can watch that. And anything else, guys, like Google is your best friend. Google it. Someone has created a YouTube video about how to do that. And of course, you can contact us. You have us in your toolbox from now on. But it is 2:00, so I don't want to take up anybody else's time. Go ahead and give her a big shout out in the chat, please. Like, she did an amazing job. Thank you for all the thank yous. It's what we do, kind of. Me and Sarah's, I feel like we're an awesome team. So it's kind of what we do. So thank you so much. If you have to hop off, go ahead and hop off. We understand. The chat, the evaluation is in the chat. I'm going to post it right now again. So it has the evaluation, it has the sign-in link, it has our Twitter and all those good things. So thank you guys so much. Sarah, is there anything else? Did you want to go through anything else?
No, I think just join us next week. We'll continue the learning, and I hope that as we go through, I love getting the questions, because I can try to predict what everybody's going to want to know, but then as we go through this, I certainly never mind, well, can you show us how to do that? And I want to make sure that these trainings, are focused, but they're also flexible enough to get people what they want. So you guys are giving us 2 hours of your time. I want to make sure that that's worth it.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And you really are really good with being flexible. And even if you're going to get to it later, you actually stop and get to it now. And we appreciate that. So guys, again, if you have our contact information, if you have any other questions, please fill out the evaluation and let her know. you know, good, bad, or ugly. I mean, I can't assume what bad or ugly you have, but let her know good, bad, or ugly. Certificates, video, all that will be done. I'm going to say, I think earlier I said Friday, which is I think tomorrow. So I'm going to say, I don't know, sometime this weekend, guys. You'll get the certificate and the video and all that. You may get it today, but I seriously doubt that, but you may get it today. So by sometime this weekend, you will get that. So there you go. I'm not sure how I get a copy for me to study and highlight to review. Will this capability be on the copy of the I'm not sure exactly what you mean, Nancy. You'll get a copy of the video or
but
the
I think she, like how you had said, if they wanted all of the stuff that I added in.
It's in the.
So Nancy, when she sends out the link with the video, the certificate, and the resource, because it's a Google Doc and it's living, when you go to click on that and you make a new copy of it, all of that stuff, I'm not going to go back through and I'm not going to delete things. So as long as you click on it from her link, sorry, when she sends that out to you tomorrow or.
And it's on the numbered list. I've been.
Yeah. If you clicked on it now, Nancy, you would get a new.
Yep, number 4. The resource is number 4. So you just click on that because Nancy, what happens is like if I click on it and make a copy right now, it takes a snapshot of right now. So if Sarah goes and adds stuff to it, then I have to go back to the original link and click it again to make another copy. Then I can delete the old copy if I don't want it. So that's kind of what I was saying. That's for any of these sessions. Isabel, the topics for next week are Google Forms and Google Slides. Google Slides on Tuesday, Google Forms on Thursday. And you just have to sign up for each one. Nancy, if that didn't answer your question, let us know. And guys, we are donezo. So thank you so much. I am going to say thank you again, Sarah.
Thank you, Desiree. I think we are a pretty great team.